What's up, guys? Lewin here at Garageband and Beyond. Today, we're going to be taking a look at writer's block. So we're going to talk about the different kinds of writer's block that there are and ways to work around it and get through it. But another thing I wanted to discuss really is I wanted you to comprehend and hopefully understand the level of thinking that you are using in your brain when you do create. So the term is called abstract or creative thinking. And I think one of the interesting statistics that I've read over the years is that in kindergartners, they discovered that 98% of all kindergartners have a genius level of abstract or creative thinking, okay? So genius level. By the time they're in 5th grade, that number's down to about 16%. And by the time you're graduating high school, the number's like below 1% of a graduating class has that genius level of abstract thinking. Maybe it'll make you feel better or worse. I don't know. But understand that there are sort of powers working against you in this area, in this world. I don't want to sound like too spacey or whatever, but there are just sort of the way that we are taught to learn things is very much that there is one answer to this problem, right? Whereas a genius level thinker would see many different solutions for the problem. One of the examples that's widely used is sort of addition, right? So like 5 plus 8 is 13, right? So that is the answer. That is the mathematical answer. I added 5 to 8 and I came up with 13. Now, that's the linear, that's the way we have all been taught to think about it. A genius level thinker might think, well, you could also just take a 1 and a 3 and put it together and boom, there's 13. Or a genius thinker might write it out in Roman numerals. Or, there's just many different ways a human being at that level of thinking can think of how did we just come up with these two numbers here. So that's sort of the point of what I'm talking about is that, it's important to remember that there are things out there that are working against your creativity. And the more you nurture that side of your brain and your thinking process, the stronger it will become. And it doesn't go away. If you're a songwriter, you understand, that level of thinking, it just doesn't go away. Sometimes it gets a little suffocated maybe, but there's ways to nurture it back. So what I want you to, I'm just going to go down a list. I have some notes here that I've taken for this video today. But I want you to understand that, genius level thinking and some of the things that those people do, I think understanding the process of a genius level thinker could maybe help you in just understanding areas to look at in your own process, okay? Number one is geniuses look at problems in different ways. I was just talking about that. Number two is geniuses make their thoughts visible. Now, in our case, I would say this could pertain to recording, okay? So if you have, an iPhone or whatever phone, most of them have some sort of voice memo recording thing. So what I do is any single idea that I have, every single idea I have gets recorded. I don't care how short or long it is. I have thousands of these things now, but they're invaluable to go back and listen to what I've done, what I do like, what I don't like. I've revisited songs from 10 years ago that I've finished like this year, literally. So there's also that side of it. Sometimes it just takes forever to finish a song. So yeah, just record stuff. Geniuses produce, right? So this sort of goes with the last one. Just produce as much as you can, even if, like I said, if it's just a little melody line or just a little chord progression, a chorus, whatever it may be, record it. But just try to produce as much as you can. Geniuses make novel combinations, okay? So this could be... you could think of this different ways. Combinations of instruments, combinations of microphones, combinations of people, chord progressions, lyrics, arrangements, you know what I mean? Using novel combinations of things, it will sometimes help you, just get inspired. Oh, one of the things that I would personally recommend, something that I do in this case, is just the combination of the process of writing in a different space than I normally write. I have this studio here and I spend a lot of time in it and I record and I do write a lot in this room, but sometimes I'm in the kitchen, sometimes I'm in the living room, sometimes I'm sitting on the coffee table and inspiration hits. I've had rooms at music stores that were more inspirational than, my own house. So changing venues, like those are the kinds of combinations, you can think of, like, what can I do to mix it up? Maybe just changing your writing venue will help. Okay, I'm going to try to go faster because this is taking forever. Geniuses force relationships. Okay, so making juxtapositions between dissimilar subjects. Okay, so that could be lyrics or arrangement. Probably, right? Geniuses think metaphorically, probably lyrics. Geniuses prepare themselves for chance. And that's a really big one too. And I'm going to sort of just say, just take the risks, Even if you're writing a song that you don't necessarily like or you think might be dumb or your friends might not like it or whatever, screw that. Just write it. You know what I mean? Don't get hung up by what we call like the inner critic. And I'm going to talk about that later. The inner critic's going to destroy you, and just don't listen to it until you need to listen to it. Okay. Because there is a moment to listen to it. I hope you understand the part of your brain that you're accessing and the kind of thinking that you're doing when you are writing a song. Okay. You're really a tiny little slice of the population if you can create music. It's a really rare and awesome thing to be able to do. Okay, so writer's block. Let's get to it. First one, most common, you can't come up with any idea at all, okay? So if you're one of those people, you got nothing going on in your head, one of the pieces of advice I would have for you is this is a great time, actually, because this is one of the areas where those really silly, like, writing exercises actually do work. So depending on what area you want to focus on, if it's like, I stink at writing lyrics, or I stink at writing chords, or I stink at writing them both, tear it apart. Just write words for a while. Sometimes, it makes sense just do the stream of consciousness thing where you just write whatever comes out. But just writing exercises, there's plenty you can find online, but writing exercises, this is one of those areas. If you got nothing coming, exercise your brain, exercise that part of your process, and try to write things that aren't in your normal genre. Try to just flex those muscles a little bit. But that's where those exercises will really help. Second one is you have a lot of ideas, but you can't commit to any of them. Okay. So this is like something I'm totally guilty of. I've, thousands of recordings that are unfinished. This is one of those moments where, it's probably not good to sit down with that material and just hammer it out. If you're one of those people, you just keep producing stuff, but it's never getting complete. My advice is is just to keep producing, because you're probably getting actually kind of close to something good. So just keep putting stuff out, but don't get hung up on something that's like a minute long or 2 minutes long. Put it away, revisit it later, and maybe you'll get something out of it then. Next one is maybe you have the majority of your project done, but there's like one little section that is unfinished, right? That's very common, myself included. This is a good time, I think, to, in the process, maybe try something totally different. Take a tangent away from your topic, maybe lyrically or even musically. Like, you could totally go to a different direction. If you're in a minor key, maybe go to a major key, or, vice versa. But just take a tangent in the work and find a whole new color of sound or whatever. Just take a tangent. I hope you understand what that means. So this brings me to the inner critic, okay? So this is a big thing for a lot of us. You write something and you're like, oh, it's totally dumb, da-da-da-da-da. And that stops your process, that inner critic. You know what? Screw the inner critic. That person sucks, and you don't need him in the creative process, or her. You don't need that person in the creative process because it's a destructive thought process, okay? When you do need the critical, or the self inner critic, is when you're in your revision stage, right? So everything is done, the song is done, lyrics are done, recorded, or maybe not recorded, maybe a rough track recorded, and that's when you sit that back and you listen to it with that critical ear and you go, okay, here's where it should be fixed and here's where it should be fixed. You know what I mean? But don't listen to that voice while you're in the process, because it'll just mess with your head too much. And like I said, in an effort to remain productive, you have to be productive, right? So, a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about here, this is all like a lot of self-discipline stuff, especially the writing exercises, which I still do. Just write lyrics to songs that aren't even written. I just write words, you know. But, you know, I hope that something I've said today made sense and connected with you, because there's lots of stuff that I talked about. But yeah, remember, you're on that level. You're sort of maintaining that genius level of abstract thinking if you're a songwriter, and it's important to nurture that part of your brain, and important to, you know, revere that part of your brain, and it'd be great if you could insure it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so you guys, I hope that answers some of your questions, gives you some food for thought. As always, please leave comments below. I answer them as quickly as possible. And of course, on the Facebook page and the Twitter page, and to my Patreon patrons, you guys, extra special thanks for going that extra mile for me and my channel. I always appreciate the support, because it's awesome that you support it. All right, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.